The unexpected ambassadors. Captain Elara Chen stood at attention, her dark eyes fixed on the shimmering portal that had appeared in the middle of Times Square. The swirling vortex of blues and purples cast an otherworldly glow across the faces of the gathered crowd, a mix of curious onlookers and nervous military personnel. "Stand ready," she murmured into her comm unit, though she wasn't sure what exactly they should be ready for. First contact scenarios had been theorized and drilled for decades, but nothing could truly prepare humanity for this moment. The portal pulsed, and suddenly, they were there. 3 tall, slender figures emerged, their skin a pale lavender hue that seemed to shimmer under the harsh New York sunlight. Their large, almond-shaped eyes blinked rapidly, adjusting to the brightness. Elara took a deep breath and stepped forward. "On behalf of the people of Earth, I welcome you to our world," she said, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The tallest alien, its head adorned with what looked like crystalline antennae, tilted its head curiously. When it spoke, the words seemed to form directly in Elara's mind. "Greetings, fragile ones. We are the Zarkoni, and we have come to assess your world's readiness for galactic integration." "Fragile ones?" Elara bristled at the term, but maintained her composure. "We appreciate your interest in our world. I am Captain Elara Chen, and I would be honored to show you what humanity has to offer." The alien's large eyes blinked slowly. "Very well, Captain Chen. We shall observe your species and determine if you are suitable." Over the next few days, Elara found herself playing tour guide to the 3 Zarkoni representatives. Sylvan, the tall leader, Narale, a scientist with vibrant blue markings, and Kozma, their security specialist whose muscular frame seemed at odds with the generally lithe Zarkoni physique. As they visited research facilities, historical sites, and cultural centers, Elara couldn't shake the feeling that the aliens were unimpressed. They marveled at the diversity of Earth's ecosystems, but seemed perplexed by humanity's reliance on sleep and our susceptibility to disease. "Your kind is so delicate," Narale commented as they toured the hospital. "How do you manage space travel when your bodies require such constant maintenance?" Elara bit back a retort. "We may not be as physically resilient as your species, but we've overcome every challenge we faced. Humanity's strength lies in our adaptability and determination." Kozma made a sound that might have been a scoff. "Determination does not alter physical limitations, Captain. Your species would not survive a day on many worlds we've visited." The final day of the Zarkoni's visit arrived, and Elara found herself in a UN conference room, surrounded by world leaders and the alien delegation. The air was thick with tension as Sylvan prepared to deliver their assessment. "People of Earth," the alien began, its mental voice resonating through the room. "We have observed your civilization and find it lacking. Your bodies are frail, your technology primitive. We do not believe you are ready for the challenges of galactic society." Murmurs of discontent rippled through the human delegates. Elara felt a surge of anger and stepped forward. "With all due respect, you've barely scratched the surface of what humanity is capable of. We may not have your physical advantages, but we have something just as valuable, the will to overcome, to adapt, to push beyond our limits." Sylvan's antennae twitched. "Bold words, Captain Chen, but words alone do not change reality." "Then give us a chance to prove ourselves," Elara challenged. "Take a team of humans with you. Let us show you firsthand what we're made of." The room fell silent as the Zarkoni representatives conferred among themselves. Finally, Sylvan turned back to the assembly. "Very well, Captain. We will allow a small team to accompany us on our next mission. Consider it a trial period. You have one of your Earth days to assemble your team." As the meeting adjourned, Elara's mind raced. She had just volunteered humanity for an interstellar mission with barely any preparation. But as she looked around at her fellow humans, scientists, diplomats, soldiers, she saw determination in their eyes. They would rise to this challenge as they always had. "Well, folks," she addressed the room, a hint of a smile on her lips, Looks like we're going to the stars. Let's show these aliens what humanity is really made of. As the delegates dispersed to begin preparations, Ilara couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and trepidation. This was humanity's chance to prove itself on a galactic stage. Whatever challenges lay ahead, she was certain of one thing: they would face them head-on, with all the ingenuity, courage, and resilience that had defined their species throughout history. The adventure was just beginning, and the universe was about to learn that humans were anything but fragile. Beyond the pale blue dot, the next 24 hours passed in a whirlwind of activity. Ilara found herself at the center of a storm of preparations, selecting team members, undergoing crash courses in alien etiquette, and trying to pack for a journey to literal parts unknown. As the sun rose on departure day, Ilara stood before her hastily assembled team in a hangar at Edwards Air Force Base. Besides herself, the group consisted of Dr. Amit Patel, a brilliant xenobiologist with a penchant for bad puns; Major Sarah O'Connor, a tough-as-nails Marine with experience in extreme environments; Sun Liu, a prodigy in linguistics and cultural studies, barely out of her 20s; and Jack Morrison, a seasoned engineer with a knack for improvising solutions in crisis situations. "All right, team," Ilara addressed them, her voice steady despite the butterflies in her stomach. "We're about to embark on the greatest journey in human history. We're not just representing ourselves or our countries, we're representing our entire species. The Zarkon think we're fragile. Let's prove them wrong." As if on cue, the air shimmered and the now familiar portal appeared. Axelovan stepped through, flanked by Narale and Kozmarch. "Are you prepared, humans?" Axelovan's mental voice carried a hint of skepticism. Ilara squared her shoulders. "We're ready." The team stepped through the portal, and Ilara's senses were immediately assaulted. Colors she had no name for swirled around them, and for a moment, she felt as if her body was being stretched in impossible directions. Then, as suddenly as it began, it was over. They found themselves in a vast, gleaming chamber. Through enormous windows, Ilara could see the curved edge of a planet, not Earth, but a world of swirling purples and greens. "Welcome to the Zarkoni Central Hub," Narale announced. "This will be your home for the duration of our mission." As the humans marveled at their surroundings, Kozmar approached with what looked like thin, silvery necklaces. "These are universal translators and environmental adapters. They will allow you to understand all galactic standard languages and provide a measure of protection against varying atmospheric conditions." The team accepted the devices, each feeling a slight tingle as they clasped them around their necks. "Now," Vexelovan said, "we begin our journey to the Epsilon Cluster. There, we will conduct a survey of a newly discovered world. This mission will test your species' adaptability and usefulness in galactic affairs." As the hub began to move, apparently, the entire structure was a massive spaceship. Ilara and her team were shown to their quarters. The rooms were spartanly furnished but comfortable, with strange, pulsating plants providing both light and a soothing ambience. Over the next few days, the humans immersed themselves in learning about their new environment. Dr. Patel was in heaven, poring over data on countless alien species. Van spent hours in conversation with the ship's AI, rapidly expanding her linguistic database. Major O'Connor familiarized herself with the ship's security systems, while Jack tinkered with any piece of technology the Zarkoni would allow him to examine. Ilara, for her part, tried to build a rapport with their alien hosts. It was slow going. The Zarkoni remained aloof, clearly still doubtful of the humans' capabilities. On the 5th day of their journey, alarms blared throughout the hub. Ilara and her team rushed to the command center, where they found the Zarkoni in a state of agitation. "What's happening?" Ilara demanded. Sylvan's antennae quivered. "We've encountered a gamma radiation storm. It's interfering with our navigation systems. We need to make an emergency landing on a nearby moon to make repairs." As the hub descended towards a desolate cratered surface, Ilara could see the worry in the alien's eyes. Clearly, This situation was outside their comfort zone. "Let us help," she offered. "What do you need?" Cosma scoffed. "This environment is far too hostile for your fragile forms. The radiation levels alone would." "With all due respect," Major O'Connor interrupted, "humans have been dealing with radiation since we split the atom. We've got experience with this." Dr. Patel nodded eagerly. "Plus, our smaller size might be an advantage in repairing delicate systems." The Zarkoni exchanged glances, then reluctantly agreed. As the hub touched down on the moon's surface, Ilara and her team donned protective suits and prepared to venture out. "Remember," Ilara said to her team, "this is our chance to show what humanity can do. Let's make it count." As they stepped out onto the alien moon, the harsh landscape stretching out before them, Ilara felt a surge of determination. The universe had thrown them their first challenge, and they were ready to face it head-on. Little did they know, this was just the beginning of a series of trials that would push them to their limits and show the galaxy the true strength of humanity. Trial by fire. The alien moon's surface was a treacherous landscape of jagged rocks and deep crevasses, all bathed in an eerie, pulsating light from the nearby radiation storm. Ilara and her team carefully made their way towards the hub's damaged navigation array, their suit sensors constantly pinging with warnings about the hostile environment. "Looks like the main gravitational sensor is fried," Jack called out, examining the scorched circuitry. "We'll need to bypass it and recalibrate the entire system." Dr. Patel chimed in, "The radiation's affecting the bio-neural interfaces too. We'll have to find a way to shield them." As they worked, Ilara couldn't help but notice the Zarkoni watching from the safety of the hub, their large eyes wide with a mix of curiosity and concern. She allowed herself a small smile. They were already exceeding the aliens' expectations. Hours passed as the team worked tirelessly to repair the complex systems. The radiation storm intensified, battering them with waves of energy that made their teeth rattle even through the protective suits. But they pressed on, driven by a combination of necessity and the desire to prove themselves. Suddenly, a violent tremor shook the moon's surface. Cracks spider-webbed across the ground, and a chasm began to open up directly beneath the hub. "The moon's becoming unstable," Den shouted, translating the frantic warnings from the ship's AI. "We need to get out of here now." But as the hub's engines flared to life, it became clear that the repairs weren't complete. The ship lurched dangerously, unable to break free from the moon's crumbling surface. In that moment, Ilara made a split-second decision. "Jack, O'Connor, with me. We're going to have to manually override the launch sequence." The three of them sprinted towards the hub's main thruster assembly, fighting against the increasingly violent quakes. As they reached the massive engines, Jack quickly identified the problem. "The safety protocols are still engaged. We need to release them manually, but the heat from the engines..." O'Connor stepped forward. "I've got this, cover me." Before anyone could protest, the Major darted towards the glowing hot engine housing. With a grunt of effort, she began to turn the manual release valve. The heat was intense, and Ilara could see O'Connor's suit beginning to smoke, but the soldier didn't falter. With a final heroic effort, O'Connor wrenched the valve fully open. The engines roared to life, and the hub began to rise. "Get to the airlock," Ilara shouted, half-dragging the exhausted O'Connor as the ground continued to break apart beneath them. They made it inside, just as the ship cleared the disintegrating moon. Through the viewports, they watched as the celestial body tore itself apart, victims of the radiation storm's fury. Back in the command center, the humans were met with a sight they hadn't expected. The Zarkoni was staring at them in what could only be described as awe. You saved us," Sullivan said, its mental voice tinged with disbelief. "We were certain the radiation and the moon's collapse would prove too much for your species." Ilara, still catching her breath, managed a wry smile. "Like I said, we're tougher than we look." As the medical team tended to O'Connor's burns, which, thanks to the suit, were painful but not severe, Narale approached Ilara. "We may have misjudged your kind," the alien scientist admitted. "Your adaptability and courage in the face of danger are truly remarkable." Ilara nodded, accepting the compliment. "We faced extinction-level events, global wars, and countless natural disasters. Humanity has always found a way to survive and thrive. It's who we are." Over the next few days, as the hub continued its journey to the Epsilon cluster, Ilara noticed a shift in the Zarkoni's attitude. They began to include the humans more in their discussions, seeking their input on various matters. It was a small step, but a significant one. One evening, as Ilara stood watching the stars streak by, Exhilarating joined her. "Captain Chen," the alien began, "I must confess, when we first encountered your species, we saw only your physical limitations. But now I understand that your true strength lies elsewhere, in your ingenuity, your determination, and your ability to work together in the face of adversity." Ilara smiled. "Thank you, Exhilarating. That means a lot coming from you." The alien's antennae twitched in what Ilara had come to recognize as amusement. "Do not become too comfortable, Captain. We are approaching the Epsilon cluster, and I suspect even greater challenges await us there. Your team's mettle will be tested like never before." As if on cue, an alert sounded throughout the ship. A holographic display sprang to life, showing a massive, swirling storm of energy directly in their path. "It appears," Exhilarating said, its mental voice grave, "that we have encountered the maelstrom of Epsilon. No ship has ever successfully navigated through it." Ilara felt a flutter of nervousness in her stomach, but it was quickly replaced by a familiar sense of determination. She toggled her comm unit. "All hands, this is Captain Chen. Looks like we've got another situation on our hands. Let's show the universe what humanity can do." As her team assembled, ready to face this new challenge, Ilara couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. They had already come so far, defying expectations and overcoming seemingly impossible odds. Whatever lay ahead in the maelstrom of Epsilon, she knew one thing for certain: they would face it together, with all the strength and resilience that humanity had to offer. The next chapter of their cosmic adventure was about to unfold, and the galaxy was watching. The Maelstrom's challenge. The maelstrom of Epsilon loomed before them, a vast, churning vortex of energy that seemed to devour light itself. Streams of plasma and dark matter twisted around each other in a hypnotic, terrifying dance. Ilara stood on the hub's bridge, her team gathered around her as they stared at the magnificent and frightening spectacle. The Zarkoni crew members were visibly nervous, their crystalline antennae vibrating with anxiety. "Our sensors can't penetrate the maelstrom," Narale reported, her mental voice tinged with frustration. "We're flying blind if we attempt to enter." Sullivan turned to Ilara, its large eyes reflecting the swirling chaos outside. "Captain Chen, I must ask, does your species have experience with phenomena like this?" Ilara exchanged glances with her team before responding. "Not exactly like this, no. But we've navigated hurricanes, explored the depths of our oceans, and sent probes into the heart of gas giants. We're not strangers to extreme environments." Dr. Pertel stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with excitement despite the danger. "If I may, the maelstrom's structure reminds me of Jupiter's great red spot. Perhaps we could apply similar principles of fluid dynamics to predict safe passages." Jen nodded enthusiastically. "And if we combine that with the data from our previous encounters with spatial anomalies, we might be able to create a rudimentary navigation system." Cosma, the Zarkoni security specialist, looked skeptical. "Even if you could plot a course, our ship's shields weren't designed to withstand such forces. We'd be torn apart." Jack Morrison, who had been quiet until now, suddenly snapped his fingers. "Not if we reconfigure the shield harmonics to match the maelstrom's energy frequency. It won't be perfect, but it might buy us enough time to get through." Ilara felt a surge of pride as she watched her team work together, each contributing their unique skills and knowledge. She turned to Sylvan. "Give us a few hours to prepare. We'll find a way through." The next few hours were a flurry of activity. Dr. Patel and Jen worked with the ship's AI to develop a predictive algorithm for navigating the maelstrom. Jack and Major O'Connor, her burns now mostly healed, collaborated with the Zarkoni engineers to modify the shield systems. Ilara coordinated it all, ensuring every aspect of their plan was as solid as it could be given the circumstances. As they made their final preparations, Ilara addressed the combined human and Zarkoni crew. "What we're about to attempt is incredibly dangerous, but it's also an opportunity to push the boundaries of what's possible, to explore where no one has gone before. That's what humanity is all about, and I believe it's what unites us with our new Zarkoni friends. Together, we can do this." With a chorus of determined nods from both species, they took their positions. The hub slowly approached the edge of the maelstrom, its modified shields humming with power. "Here we go," Ilara murmured as they crossed the threshold. Immediately, the ship was buffeted by tremendous forces. Alarms blared as energy tendrils lashed against the shields. Jack and the engineering team worked feverishly to maintain the shield harmonics, making split-second adjustments as they penetrated deeper into the maelstrom. Dr. Patel and Jen called out course corrections, guiding the ship through the chaos. 30 degrees to port, now a sharp dive, level out and brace for impact. A massive surge of energy slammed into the hub, sending everyone sprawling. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed as if the shields would fail, but they held, if barely. "We can't take another hit like that," Cosmar warned, genuine fear in its mental voice. Ilara gripped her console, her mind racing. They were too far in to turn back now. Suddenly, an idea struck her. "The maelstrom's energy, can we absorb it instead of deflecting it?" Sylvan's antennae perked up. "Theoretically, yes, but the power influx would be enormous. Our systems aren't designed to handle it." "Mine are," Jack interjected, "or at least I can make them be. Human power grids are built to handle sudden surges. If we apply the same principles here..." With Sylvan's reluctant approval, Jack set to work, his fingers flying over the alien controls. The next time an energy tendril struck the ship, instead of a jarring impact, they felt a surge of power. "It's working," Ven exclaimed. "Our speed is increasing. We're riding the maelstrom's currents." For what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, they hurtled through the heart of the maelstrom. Ilara's world narrowed to the view screen in front of her, the shouted instructions of her team, and the constant, nerve-wracking wail of the ship's alarms. And then suddenly, it was over. The hub burst out of the other side of the maelstrom, systems overloaded but intact. As the crew caught their breath, a cheer went up, human and Zarkoni voices united in triumph. Ilara slumped in her chair, exhausted but elated. They had done the impossible. As she looked around at her team, at Jack's tired grin, O'Connor's stoic nod of approval, Pato's exuberant high-fives with Jen, she felt a warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with the residual energy from the maelstrom. Sylvan approached her, its usually impassive face showing clear signs of amazement. "Captain Chen, words fail me. What your team has accomplished today is beyond anything we thought possible." Ilara smiled, too tired for false modesty. "Thank you, Sylvan. But we couldn't have done it without the Zarkoni. This was a true collaboration." As the adrenaline of their ordeal began to fade, Ilara noticed something on the main view screen. Beyond the dissipating energies of the maelstrom, a new sight greeted them. A breathtaking array of stars and nebulae, colors and patterns unlike anything they had ever seen before. "The Epsilon Cluster," Naralai breathed, her mental voice filled with wonder. "We're the first to ever see it up close." As the hub cruised deeper into this unexplored region of space, Ilara felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had overcome incredible odds to get here, but she knew their greatest challenges and greatest discoveries still lay ahead. The Epsilon cluster beckoned, full of mystery and promise, and humanity, represented by Alara and her intrepid team, was ready to meet it head-on. Echoes of the unknown. As the hub ventured deeper into the Epsilon cluster, the crew's initial elation gave way to a focused excitement. Every sensor sweep revealed new wonders: gas giants with rings that shimmered like opal, asteroid fields teeming with exotic minerals, and stars in configurations never before recorded. Dr. Patel was in his element, barely sleeping as he analyzed the flood of new data. "Captain," he called out one day, his voice trembling with excitement, "I think I found something extraordinary." Alara joined him at his workstation, where a holographic display showed a planet unlike any she had ever seen. Its surface seemed to shift and flow, like liquid mercury. "It's giving off biosignatures," Patel explained, "but they're like nothing in our database. All the Zarkonis, for that matter." Kirk Sylvan, who had been listening nearby, chimed in. "If there is life on that world, it would be a monumental discovery. But approaching an unknown biosphere carries immense risks." Alara nodded, understanding the implied question. "We came here to explore, to push boundaries. I say we take a closer look." As the hub entered orbit around the mercurial world, which they had dubbed Proteus, the team prepared for a landing mission. Alara insisted on leading the expedition herself, joined by Dr. Patel, Major O'Connor, and to everyone's surprise, Narale. "Your expertise in xenobiology will be invaluable," Alara told the Zarkoni scientist. "Plus, I think it's time we truly worked side by side." As their shuttle descended through Proteus's shimmering atmosphere, Alara felt a familiar mix of anticipation and nerves. This was what they had come for, to make first contact, to discover the truly unknown. The moment their craft touched down on the flowing surface, their suit sensors went haywire. The ground beneath them seemed to pulse with energy, rippling outwards from their landing site. "Fascinating," Dr. Patel murmured, kneeling to examine the surface more closely. "It's not actually liquid, it's millions of tiny crystalline structures, all moving in concert." Narale's antennae quivered with excitement. "The energy readings are off the charts. This entire planet could be one massive, living organism." As they ventured further from their shuttle, the landscape around them began to change. Structures rose and fell like waves, forming intricate patterns that seemed almost deliberate. Suddenly, Major O'Connor called out a warning. "Movement at 2 o'clock." They turned to see a large mass of the crystalline substance coalescing into a towering, vaguely humanoid shape. More forms emerged around them, surrounding the team. Alara's heart raced, but she forced herself to remain calm. "We come in peace," she said, hoping that somehow these beings could understand. To their astonishment, one of the crystalline giants responded, not in words, but in a series of vibrations that resonated through their suits. Zen, who had been monitoring from the hub, gasped over the comms. "Captain, I think they're trying to communicate through vibrations. The patterns match known linguistic structures." What followed was one of the most extraordinary first contact scenarios in galactic history. Over the next few hours, Alara and her team, with Zhen's remote assistance, began to establish a rudimentary form of communication with the beings they came to call the Resonance. They learned that the entire planet was indeed a single vast intelligence, with the Resonance acting as its mobile appendages. The Resonance were curious about their visitors, probing gently at their suits and equipment with tendrils of crystalline matter. As Alara shared information about Earth and humanity's journey to the stars, she noticed Narale watching her with what seemed like newfound respect. "You humans continue to astonish me," the Zarkoni scientist admitted. "Your adaptability, your eagerness to embrace the unknown, it's unlike anything we've encountered before." Their peaceful exchange was suddenly interrupted by a violent tremor that shook the entire planet. The Resonance forms became agitated, their vibrations taking on a frantic tone. "Something's wrong," Jen translated urgently. "They're saying the heart is sick. The rhythm is broken." Dr. Patel's eyes widened in realization. The planet's core. If this entire world is alive, then something must be disrupting its central processes. Another tremor, stronger this time, nearly knocked them off their feet. Cracks began to appear in the once smooth surface, oozing a glowing, lava-like substance. "We need to evacuate," Major O'Connor insisted, but Elara hesitated. "We can't just leave them," she argued, watching as the resonance struggled to maintain their forms amidst the chaos. Narale stepped forward, her usual cool demeanor replaced by determination. Perhaps we can help. Our ship's energy systems, if we could use them to stabilize the planet's core." It was a wild idea, born of desperation and the unique blend of human ingenuity and Zarkoni technology. But as another violent quake threatened to tear the planet apart, Elara knew it was their only choice. "Exhilarating," she called over the comms, "we need the hub down here now." What followed was a race against time. As the planet convulsed around them, the team worked feverishly alongside the resonance. They rigged up a massive energy transfer system, channeling power from the hub directly into Proteus's core. Elara found herself at the heart of it all, coordinating between species that couldn't have been more different, yet were united in their desperate bid to save a world. She saw Major O'Connor's unwavering focus as she helped reroute power systems, Dr. Patel's brilliant mind working in perfect sync with Narale's alien expertise, and the resonance themselves, their crystalline forms pulsing in harmony with the efforts to heal their living world. For hours they worked, pushing their technology and themselves to the absolute limit. And slowly, gradually, the violent tremors began to subside. The glowing fissures closed, the surface smoothed, and the resonance vibrations took on a tone that needed no translation, relief and gratitude. As a new day dawned on Proteus, Elara stood with her team, human and Zarkoni alike, and gazed out at the shimmering landscape they had helped save. They were exhausted, their suits battered and power cells nearly drained, but there was a sense of accomplishment that went beyond anything they had felt before. "You know," Narale said softly, her mental voice filled with a warmth Elara had never heard before, "I believe I finally understand what you meant about human strength. It's not in your bodies, but in your spirits, your capacity for compassion, your drive to help others, even those utterly alien to you." Elara smiled, feeling a profound sense of pride, not just in herself or her team, but in humanity as a whole. "That's who we are," she replied simply. "That's what we do." As they prepared to return to the hub, the resonance gathered around them. In a display that left even the seasoned xenobiologists speechless, the crystalline beings began to reshape themselves, forming a structure that unmistakably represented the Earth and its solar system. The message was clear: they were no longer alone in the universe. Humanity had not only proven its worth, but had made its first true galactic allies. As their shuttle lifted off, Elara knew that their journey was far from over. The Epsilon cluster still held countless mysteries, and beyond it, an entire galaxy waited to be explored. But now they would face those challenges not just as representatives of Earth, but as proven members of a larger cosmic community. The stars beckoned, brighter than ever before, and humanity was ready to answer their call. A new horizon. The return journey from Proteus was filled with a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. As the hub cruised through the star-studded expanse of the Epsilon cluster, Elara found herself in the ship's observation deck, gazing out at the cosmos. The events of the past few weeks played through her mind like a surreal dream. Sylvan joined her, its crystalline antennae glowing softly in the starlight. "Captain Chen," it began, its mental voice carrying a note of solemnity, "I owe you and your team an apology." Elara turned surprised. "An apology? For what?" "For underestimating your species," Exhilarating replied. "When we first encountered humans, we saw only your physical limitations. We failed to recognize the true strength that lies within you, your adaptability, your courage, your capacity for empathy and self-sacrifice. You have not only survived every challenge we've faced, but have thrived, and in doing so, you've changed our perception of what it means to be a spacefaring civilization. Ilara felt a warmth spread through her chest at the alien's words. Thank you, Xylovan. That means a lot coming from you. But I hope you've seen that our strength doesn't just come from individual humans. It comes from our ability to work together, to combine our diverse skills and perspectives. And that includes working with new allies, like the Zarkoni. Sylvan's antennae twitched in what Ilara had come to recognize as a smile. Indeed, which brings me to the reason I sought you out. The Zarkoni High Council has been in contact. They've reviewed our reports and the data we've gathered. They want to extend an official invitation to Earth to join the Galactic Confederation. Ilara's eyes widened. This was beyond anything she had imagined when they first set out on this journey. That's incredible, but I'm just a captain. This kind of decision would need to involve our world leaders, our people. Of course, Elvan agreed, which is why we're altering our course. We're heading back to Earth to deliver the invitation in person. Your people will have much to discuss. As news of their impending return spread through the ship, a palpable sense of excitement filled the air. The human team gathered in their common room, each processing the magnitude of what they had accomplished in their own way. Dr. Patel was practically bouncing off the walls, his mind racing with the scientific implications. Do you realize what this means? Access to the combined knowledge of multiple civilizations, technologies we've never dreamed of. The potential for advancement is staggering. Jen nodded eagerly, her eyes shining. And the cultural exchange. Imagine the stories, the histories, the art forms we'll encounter. It's a linguist's paradise. Major O'Connor, ever practical, added, it also means new security challenges. We'll need to be prepared to defend ourselves on a galactic scale. Jack Morrison leaned back, a thoughtful expression on his face. You know, when I signed up for this mission, I thought we'd be lucky if we came back with some cool alien tech to reverse engineer. I never imagined we'd be coming home as humanity's first ambassadors to a galactic civilization. Ilara listened to her team's excited chatter, feeling a profound sense of pride and responsibility. They had started this journey as representatives of Earth, sent to prove humanity's worth. Now they were returning as the heralds of a new era for their entire species. As the familiar blue marble of Earth came into view, Ilara felt a lump form in her throat. It looked so small, so fragile against the vast backdrop of space. Yet she knew the incredible potential that resided on that tiny world, the same potential that had carried them across the stars and would now propel humanity into a new age of exploration and discovery. The landing at the United Nations headquarters in New York was a media frenzy. Crowds gathered to catch a glimpse of the returning heroes and their alien companions. World leaders assembled to hear the Zarkoni's proposal, their faces a mix of awe and apprehension as Iovan extended the formal invitation to join the Galactic Confederation. In the weeks that followed, Earth was abuzz with debate. There were those who eagerly embraced the opportunity, seeing it as the next great leap for humankind. Others were more cautious, worried about losing Earth's autonomy or being overwhelmed by more advanced civilizations. Through it all, Ilara and her team found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of interviews, briefings, and strategy sessions. They shared their experiences, the wonders they had seen, and the challenges they had overcome. Their stories of cooperation with the Zarkoni, of saving the living planet Proteus, became rallying points for those in favor of joining the galactic community. Finally, after much deliberation, a decision was reached. In a historic televised address, the Secretary-General of the United Nations announced that Earth will accept the invitation, becoming the newest member of the Galactic Confederation. As celebrations erupted around the world, Ilara stood with her team on the balcony of the UN building, watching fireworks light up the New York sky. Esselvan and Narale joined them, their alien features reflecting the colorful bursts. So, Jack said, a hint of his old humor returning, what's next? Terraforming Mars? building a Dyson sphere, exploring other galaxies. Elara laughed, feeling a sense of limitless possibility. Who knows? A few months ago, we never imagined we'd be here. The future is wide open, and we've got a whole galaxy of new friends to explore it with. As they stood there, human and alien alike, united in their shared journey and the promise of adventures to come, Elara realized that they had achieved something far greater than simply proving humanity's strength. They had opened the door to a future where the combined knowledge, creativity, and determination of multiple species could tackle the greatest mysteries of the universe. The stars no longer seemed distant and unreachable. They were beacons, calling humanity to rise to new challenges, to push beyond their limits, and to take their place in the grand tapestry of galactic civilization. As the last fireworks faded and a new day dawned, Elara knew that this was not the end of their journey, but merely the beginning of humanity's greatest adventure. The universe awaited, and humanity was ready to embrace its cosmic destiny.